Yeah, and has some pretty cool counterplay with the Nature's Prophet. Of course, if you share control over to your ally, you steal one of his treants away from him, you walk it towards the mid lane, then you can bound off it.
Mm.
Kind of works, kind of nifty, but is definitely filling a role that is just not there because Dreamers have banned out the majority of the four positions, and Drakeel gets his tide. Okay, sure, works. Answer to the Nature's Prophet lane if it ends up being that carry for DNM, but also doesn't really care about the overgrowth or the lasso or really even Marcy's damage. Just a hero for Drakeel to just shrug basically everything off.
Mm-hmm. This does put Dreamers on a little bit of a dangerous path here, being beholden to uh, several big ults on their big cooldowns on their ults, rather, with the global, the Ravage, even the Requiem does kind of get up there a little bit. So they'll have to be careful with their timings. Got to make sure they don't present that big window for 5RAT to try and regroup and push into them when they don't have their own spells. But if they're using those spells effectively, ET, 5RAT are really going to be hard pressed to take a fight against them.
Yeah, and well, Dreamers probably gonna split their bands, but they think that 5RAT need their carry. Meanwhile, 5RAT,
Mm.
I think the Dreamers need their mid, which is appropriate, even though I think right now for Dreamers, they could still run the Shadow Fiend versus the Bat Rider in the mid lane. Kind of a rough lane, but any lane versus the Bat Rider is going to be difficult. There's still the Ember Spirit kicking around if we want Jamari to just run it back. But there's also heroes like the Doom, where you put the Shadow Fiend mid, you put the Doom in the safe lane, another hero that Adrian really likes, and having a playmaker in that final pick for Dreamers is going to make the lineup feel so much better. Because, like you said, they've got long cooldowns. It's going to be difficult if they don't have that easy stun. And of course, you got Hookshot to make things slightly easier for you, but that's where your Dooms, your CKs, don't want to say Wraith King because that hero's like kind of but those types of heroes are going to make Dreamers lineup feel that much easier to play.
Whoa.
And that is a gyrocopter. And we'll have to see position wise, but it feels like Speed Nature's Prophet in DNM Gyro. And sure, Gyro's kind of your classic versus Tidehunter, but Gyrocopter is also Gyrocopter, a hero that hasn't felt good, hasn't looked good. People haven't been picking it for a very good reason. And Dreamers also have 2 more minutes here reserve time to kind of dissect and digest what 5RAT are doing here.
Mm-hmm. Lots of time to really nail down exactly how they want to respond. And, well, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see exactly what the gyrocopter looks like. And as you said, it really does feel like it has to be the carry here. We're not looking at any sort of like Excel position 5 gyro sort of thing that they ran back in the day, because I'm not really sure we've seen any NA team, even back when it was semi-popular, try to run that strat. And then if they did, I guess they could run the Marcy as a core hero, but it just would feel a little bit strange for them. But for Dreamers, well, what do they want here? Because if the SF is going to be their carry, if it is going to go into Adrian's hands, you got to find someone who's not going to be run over by a Bat Rider mid. So, do have some concerns on that front. I don't think they're just going to force Jamari to play as Ember Spirit again and say good luck against Bat Rider. That seems kind of cruel. Okay. That's exactly what they do, apparently.
Yeah, and we'll see because it could also be Gyro offlane and then for Marcy and they just switch things up. And okay, we'll see what they come out of the fountain with because even Nick on Gyro, I don't trust 5RAT. I feel like they could still switch things up here depending on the comfort level for these heroes. But Dreamers just kind of bank it all on what they've done in the past. And we'll have to take a close look at that mid lane. See if Jamari can keep his head down and his nose clean, doesn't give any early kills over to said Bat Rider. But this is a bit of a gamble. Of course, like the Nature's Prophet carry a whole lot more than I have liked it in the off lane. Still, very strong hero, can go into the right-click battle versus the Shadow Fiend, and eventually you'll lose, but you just farm slightly faster. You buy the Gleipnir, you're more of that team fight-oriented hero, and this is a hero for DNM that's going to get that BKB second item. So perfectly paced against Dreamers heroes where they all don't want you to have BKB. Dreamers are going to have to worry about those BKBs and either go super quickly or kite out the BKBs and then reinitiate on you, something that 5RAT are not going to allow to happen. But interesting draft from 5RAT. Again, gonna have to see what the Gyro's doing here, but it does sound like an obnoxious lane for Adrian regardless.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for him to deal with, at least in the early stages, so maybe 5RAT can just really ramp up the lane pressure and try to slow him down that way. So interesting scenarios all around here, and if you're Dreamers, I don't know. I mean, what your opponents are doing is a little bit funky, but you've got to win this game. They're just going to focus in on their own execution because that's really what they're going to need. They've got these big cooldowns on their ults. They're very powerful ults, but they still have to be used effectively. So we'll see if they've got it in them to get one more win over 5RATs here to secure their place in the playoffs.
Yeah, and if there's one thing you could say for Dreamers, despite them having their backs against the wall and having themselves in this kind of difficult position, we don't see any Huskars, we don't see any Brood Mothers, none of that cheese gets through. Dreamers just pick the same, what feels like 15 heroes all the way through. It just feels like a Dreamers lineup. They just pick exactly what they've practiced, what they're trying to make happen here, and they're just hoping that that's going to be enough. But this is it for Dreamers.
Hmm. Last chance for them to make it through. So really got to bring their A game here in this last one. But you know what? If you're down to your final game, you get Adrian on a Shadow Feed, you get Drakeel on a Tidehunter, you have Jamari playing Ember. Nobody is uncomfortable with the heroes that they ended up on.
No, certainly not. Everybody's got exactly what they've had. We'll see how Pamplona actually makes it work here, because they do keep that balance. I think 555 wanting to lane versus what could be the 4 gyrocopter, as well as just being a melee hero in front of Adrian. They don't want a very weak lane, so Pamplona has Boots of Speed, Quelling Blade, Anti-Treant Technology.
Yeah, there were 3 Quelling Blades that just made their way straight top. They cut the trees, they dropped a ward, and, well, Keel's gonna see about maybe snagging this bounty rune. Of course, with this maneuver, it is worth noting they basically gave up on the 2 to the southeast here, so they kind of do need this rune just to keep it a 2-2 trade. And we'll see if Drakeel can win that clicking fight. No, he can't. BB1 is able to take it away, but 5RAT also didn't cross the river, so okay. After all of that, it's still just a trade-off anyway.
Yeah, and well, Dreamers will climb up onto a another bounty rune here that just got left behind in the jungle. But Rakeel lamenting over being on ping, but that's just the way it goes.
And, well, we'll see how this lane plays out here. Drakeel, eventually, is going to start getting pretty tanky once he's got points up in the Kraken shell, but I guess the real question will be who wins this support fight. Pamplona and AB1 both have incredible amounts of just straight-up harassment that they can deploy here, so if it comes down to just right-click trades, yeah, AB1 wins that one, but Pamplona eventually is going to have points up in the curse, and that's where life can get a little more difficult for 5RATs.
Yeah, as well as Rakeel getting the gush, then you got to be careful of how you actually commit. But in the meantime, camps spawn up. Either the large or the small camp are blocked, so those pulls will be available, and everyone's already working on it.
Pull that equilibrium under control. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Marcy and Gyrocopter. We will see how they play this one out. I mean, it's going to be an initiation that will demand attention, right? If you do send that homing missile in, Dreamers have to either back up entirely or commit all their resources to killing off the missile before it hits, so not a lane here where Dreamers are just going to be able to sort of sit back and play passively if Little Nick decides to press the issue.
No, definitely not. And as long as they calm out to each other, missiles coming in, it's pretty darn easy for them to hit it up. But without a few more levels and without a creep wave actually hitting either the clock or the SF, kind of passive for the time being.
Yeah. Not making any sort of major moves, just trying to get some levels, and interestingly enough, Speed is actually holding a point here, so trying to determine, if they want to get aggressive, maybe he needs a point in the rebound. If nothing presents itself, then it would just be the sidekick play, which, honestly, with a support gyrocopter, sidekick does actually matter a little bit more in this setup.
Yeah, it's the annoying part of new Marcy, where you kind of feel you have to get rebound indisposed just to make your spells feel like they can connect, but then the majority of your damage comes from that damage buff from sidekick and just right-clicking your laning opponent. But you know, it's hard. Also seen the 2 value points in rebound because it really is just kind of poor speed and poor range, but a fairly annoying lane for sure. Nick has also not been nearly as aggressive as I thought he would be with the missiles, just expecting them to get knocked out of the air, as well as it being quite a high committal of mana. Rocket Barrage is just simply more efficient.
I've not seen him go for the missile as of yet. At the same time, over on the other side, Pamplona did get a point up in that curse, so coming in, dropping it where he can, just trying to be annoying, and Drakeel, well, looking for maybe more stability. Did not want the gush within the first couple of levels, instead 2 in Anchor Smash, which, okay, you know, if anyone comes up close to him, if the Treants get a little close, maybe he can just take those down, but it does mean there's basically no aggressive potential here without the slow and the armor reduction from the gush play.
Yeah. Maybe opens up Pamplona to rotating a little bit more because Drakeel is just looking to take the lane for what it is, but it is also really difficult to ever go on the Tidehunter. He really just doesn't care about the damage from the Treants all too much as long as that Anchor Smash hits, and then you kind of just walk around.
Speaking of which, Pamplona already kind of on the move here. Did not go all the way up to steal the bounty rune here. Maybe he's trying to hold that off in case the Ember Spirit is looking for a kind of extra bottle refill, but making some moves, getting some vision down, and, well, I mean, with Drakeel's build, as you mentioned, you know, he can kind of just hold by himself, so Silencer gets to make some extra plays. Not really high impact plays just yet, but it'll come. The vision will be useful. The stacks are going to come into play, especially if this is just completely uncontested, and he's actually only going to go for the single pull there, but one pull's better than none. Just really setting up for when Drakeel wants to come over, although I guess technically speaking, Jamari or even Adrian could take that as well. They might have a slightly harder time, but it is open to whoever wants it.
Yeah, it's not bad in the slightest. And man, this mid lane has just been an easy road here for Jamari. Super confident into the matchup. Hasn't really been put under too much pressure. Is close to his level 6. Has been fighting for denies. He's just rocking it.
And Red 2, well, I mean, he's not doing poorly, but we mentioned this in one of the previous matchups. You doing good is kind of nullified if your opponent's doing great, as Red 2 is under attack. Adrian, though, gets jumped in on first. Able to take down the Shadow Fiend in the bottom lane, so we finally get that aggression. Kind of off camera at the time, though, unfortunately, but First Blood into 5RAT's hands, and Jamari couldn't quite finish the job onto the Bad Rider.
Yeah, kind of weird as well, because when you pan towards bottom, 555 is max HP, max mana, none of his abilities used, and, well, Speed God kind of left here, so he's going to get triple raised, and, well, off that, a little bit of revenge. Unfortunate that Adrian doesn't get the kill, but yeah, traversed a little bit too far away, and, well, 555 says, "I'm sorry, I'm here now."
Yeah, like let me make it up to you with an assist, which Adrian, as you said, would have appreciated getting the kill more, but it's better than nothing. Helps him recover pretty quickly here. Still third highest net worth, even with the death being tallied against him, and you're gonna be doing just fine here. But, well, level 6s on both mid laners at this point, ET, so now is the time when we might start seeing some of those rotations come into play. But if you're Red 2, where do you rotate to? If the supports come mid, you can try for the Ember, but then you're not really the one doing any rotating. But if you go top, Drakeel is looking pretty tough, and down bottom, well, Nick's already been picked off, so you won't have the numbers advantage at the moment.
Yeah, and the answer is he probably won't rotate for a little bit. He's got really slow boots of travel this game. It doesn't have any stacks to rely on either, so he's going to have to work for that farm. But then the answer is he will go towards the Shadow Fiend's lane eventually, even though look mid, trying to get aggressive, but yeah, with phase boots, with the remnant already cast, Jamari does get forced out of the lane, but he's back to farming. Bottom lane is a problem, though.
Yep.
DNM TP's over, gets the kill. Adrian loses, he TP's dies, so kind of unlucky.
They at least get a kill onto speed in the aftermath there, as 555 was able to throw some cogs out that kind of disrupted that, but it didn't get the Shadow Fiend to safety. It just put him pretty much on the other side. So 1-for-1 trade. 5RAT going to be happy with that. Meanwhile, as you were pointing out, well, things got a little bit awkward towards that middle lane, but Jamari's got a regen rune. He's just going to heal up, and Adrian's top. Trying to get onto DNM here. Drakeel would really need the gush. He is slowly but surely catching up, though, and that's going to set up for the raises. Okay, that's one way to go about that. They just popped the Ravage. He wasn't quite sure Adrian was going to be able to get the step back and then the turnaround to get that furthest range raise in, so takes matters into his own hands.
Yeah, and definitely worth it, but DNM just caught off guard, but their opponents were very aware. You TP'd bottom, you killed me, you TP'd back top, and then immediately got aggressive. But yeah, some thievery. Red 2 finds the stacks, he takes the easy one as well, and then leaves streamers in the dark.
It is quite unfortunate, especially for Pamplona, who, well, first of all, spent all the time stacking up the camps, but he doesn't get any of the sort of gold that he was going to, or the experience even, for that matter, for stacking those up. So leaves your silencer very poor. But over in the river, nice play. 555 hook shots in. Jamari's able to get his first kill of the match. And your Ember Spirit looking pretty good here. And ET going for the Orb of Corrosion as that first item alongside the Phase Boots. It does slow up something along the lines of an early Maelstrom and or BKB, but I feel like with this build, you just have a little bit more in terms of trying to go for immediate fights instead of waiting for a later timing.
Yeah, your early game damage is really solid. You get to make a lot more plays. Let's see what the runes are.
Ooh.
Nice little DD rune there for Jamari. Gonna make something happen with that.
See where he goes. They've got 3 heroes angling towards bot, so wants to make that rotation. Adrian's in the area. Although at the moment, their tower is getting pressured a little bit here. Nick is actually going to throw down the homing missile, but there's the move. 555 is in. Adrian's going to start throwing out the raises. There was a TP there momentarily from the bat, but he doesn't actually go through with it. But Adrian's still in trouble, trying to maneuver his way through the tree line. Actually turns around for a raise that doesn't really connect, but his teammates, they have this handled. Even with the Unleash, speed can't turn onto any of them. And Dreamers get away from that with no casualties. Adrian on a sliver of HP, 555 I think had even less, but they all walk away.
Yeah, and that was really Speed's big moment. Red 2 tried to get there on the creep, and I'm not sure if he canceled or if the creep died, but wasn't able to help out his teammate in the slightest, despite him having those boots of travel. Even though DNM, I think, threw a Wrath of Nature, he wasn't prepared either to TP in and kind of throw his life away, and mainly because Drakeel TP's in with the Ravage. So they all don't want to feed their lives into the Tidehunter, who will just, take him out with his big spell, but it's unfortunate, because that is everything that Speed's been building up to for this point. He's got the armlet as well. He does a ton of damage, but just gets ditched.
And as you said, Drakeel coming in with the threat of the Ravage, but then not actually having to use it is unbelievably big for Dreamers, because now, if Drakeel wants to leave bottom lane eventually, they're going to be able to make plays elsewhere on the map. They're, in fact, going to set up a little bit of vision here in the top lane. They did just throw down double sentries, which is a little bit awkward, but double sentries is not as bad as double obs, so they do have that going for them. Jamari, though, trying to get in onto Red 2 here, fighting for the rune. It is the bat picking up the illusion, but Jamari decides, let's get out of here before there's any sort of lasso shenanigans onto me. So he will be just fine. While Adrian, well, he comes into the jungle now, and he's going to take this camp, but could have been the multi-stack that Pamplona had set up for him at Red 2 not stealing or stolen it away.
Yeah, it's mildly unfortunate, but, could be worse. In Red 2, speaking of, taking his own ancient stack on the other side. So everybody just utilizing the map, biding their time. A timer that I think Dreamers really want to get a little bit more active here, but with the Nature's Prophet not actively pushing, DNM wanting to finish his Maelstrom before he really gets anything going, they're just being patient right now. And we'll see, because they're Pink's top. Maybe one with the Overgrowth, max level and outliving armor as well. He's not looking to give up any of these tier 1 towers anytime soon.
Does need to be careful. This ward could spot him out. It is going to see him now. The flare comes in as well. Does 555 go for the hook? Not yet. Pamplona, though, did get a little DOT onto him. Not enough to really matter, though. But now, here come the reinforcements. Nick is here. TP in from the Bat Rider. They're looking for the clockwork. He is going to try to hook out defensively, but doesn't actually make it. Global Silence will be committed. That does not save the clock, but it does buy time for Adrian to get in. There's the Requiem. There's the Ravage, hitting up onto 2 and 3, respectively. But they need bigger kills than this. AB1 was the only one to die, and now with speed coming in, this is going to get a little bit rough. Rebound doesn't hit onto anyone, though. But Jamari will join the fight, goes in for the Sleight of Fist. They're going to take down Nick. Pamplona will be sacrificed off in that tree line, but looks like a fight that at this point, really, neither side wants to actually continue. Everyone's just going to back off.
Yeah, all 6 of the cores just kind of get to leave. A little peculiar, for sure, but I think the only one who's kind of upset with that rotation is Speed. He really was kind of happy bottom, but you get all of Dreamers' big cooldowns now, and Dreamers are not going to look for anything active. Sadly for 5RAT, though, because they don't get any core kills, DNM doesn't want to stick around after the fact to push any buildings, and because he TP'd there, he didn't get to simply push the bottom tier 1. So I think 5RAT expecting a more definitive team fight win when the cores arrived, but Dreamers don't let him have it.
Just able to hold him at arm's length for the time being. Nick, though, does make his way down bot to at least try and keep the creep wave pushed in. Does need to be kind of careful now. 555 is going to look for him. They do know where he is. They get him with a Sleight of Fist. 555 doesn't even use the hook shot, just walks in. Grabs the cogs. And Nick is going to get taken down here eventually. The Wrath of Nature, though, comes through, so they're looking for a return play. This time, the defensive hook actually gets 555 onto a teammate. But look at the way Red 2's pushing in. They don't care. They just want the kill anyway. They are going to be able to get it. Pamplona's TPing out. There was a silence on the Bat Rider, so he wasn't able to use the lasso. I don't know if he would have wanted to use it anyway, considering that was just a silencer kill, but either way, said silencer gets out. DNM will take the tower, but it's going to be traded out on the other side, or I assumed it was. The glyph is coming into play here, but it's only going to slow it down.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do. Very obnoxious with the additional armor the tower does get, but a fight that Dreamers don't necessarily want either. Ravage is still on cooldown for another 10 seconds, but pretty soon here, all those abilities will be back up. It'll be Brawl in time as a little skirmish here. Looking for that 16-minute rune, but getting to those big items. Everybody's kind of failing at their plays right now. Nobody's able to get any kills going in their favor. Just kind of biding their time right now. Mari gets a DD rune at the end of that, but it's hard to tell who this necessarily favors. Of course, BKB's coming in from 5RAT. Faster than really Dreamers would probably want. No Blink Dagger on Drakeel as well, so when it comes to those Ravages, he's kind of just walking at his opponents, but 5RAT are getting pressured now.
Yeah, hitting up to tier 1. That's going to force out the call down. Call down used. Wrath of Nature comes in. They just got to root in, though, onto Nick, and 555. He was just waiting for his moment. The second he sees those chains connect, he's able to hook in. They find the kill. They find the tower, and maybe they find Speed as well. No BKB finished yet. And Speed's in some trouble. He's going to pop the Unleash, though, trying to fight his way out of this. Goes for the Dispose, but there's going to be the Fear coming in from the Requiem, and that really breaks everything. And that is why Speed was trying to get the BKB. Without it, he's kind of a sitting duck.
Yeah, just very nice wards from Dreamers. That's where both of those punishes come from. Just getting caught out, and now 5RAT are aware of said wards, but is still unfortunate. But AB1 has his Blink Dagger. He can start getting a little bit more active here. Look for those overgrowth plays, as well as I think the full Gleipnir being done on DNM. So 5RAT are coming up on their first big power spike here. I'm watching Red 2 as well. He's got a BKB, but yep. Felt like something was off. Jamari gets out of top, dodges the big gank.
Well, meanwhile, Teal gonna get stunned up for a moment, and Speed, he TP'd in. He was thinking about it probably, but that's not the target to jump in on, especially considering Drakeel had Ravage and 5RAT don't have confirmed locations on basically the entire rest of Dreamer's roster. So, not worth going in on and potentially initiating onto yourself, but now that initiation may be coming. DNM is going to look to TP himself away before any of these heroes get in, and well timed, because 555 was looking for him.
Yeah, and then a re-smoke up from the rest of 5RAT, looking for a lasso play. Of course, abusing the fact that he has BKB. He does not care about Ravage right now, but look at this, Adrian. I think he's just going to die.
Does he use his BKB? No, he doesn't. Okay. Thought for a moment maybe Red 2 would panic, but he had the damage. He was confident in it. Now they're going to push for more. Clockwork gets caught. Drakeel, though, is still kind of pushing forward like he wants that, and, well, not for himself, but for Jamari, who's quickly able to finish the job, and you still got to be careful of your 5RAT. That is a Tidehunter, and there is the Ravage, connecting onto 2 or 3, but BKB was saved for this exact purpose. They go in anyway, they get the lasso down, and they perfectly bait the Dreamers lineup. They're going to lose all their cores, and Pamplona gets to live, but only because no one cared to chase him down.
Yeah. Really great Ravage, which is kind of the sad part, but with your damage dealer lassoed and the BKB coming through, even though it hits onto everybody, that's all it is. It's just a 3-man Ravage with no follow-up, no continued damage, and 5RAT get pretty much exactly what they want. And now it was their turn to actually make a play in the night where they get the high ground ward, they get the play going, and then they just retreat back to farming up those extra BKBs that they didn't need in that previous engagement, but feels like they're going to have them for that next Ravage.
Oh. 5RAT for now. And, keep the lead going here. They're looking pretty good. BKB should be done on the Marcy in just a little while longer, but there's the Clockwork initiation. They've caught out Little Nick, but they haven't finished him off just yet. Drakeel really doesn't have the means to finish that all by himself, and now, with the Wrath of Nature coming through, 555 ends up dying. Drakeel has to cut his way out of the Sprout, but his HP is not looking great either. The 5RAT decide maybe that's a little bit too far. Diving the tier 1, yeah, probably not in their best interest, especially if they could just take the tower at this point. DNM, though, he's feeling a little greedy. TP'd himself forward, and well, if he had the location right, maybe a kill Drakeel. Instead, though, they missed that opportunity, but the rest of 5RAT ET just went straight in for the tower, and they got it taken down.
Yeah. They're feeling very confident now. They're just pushing in with their more active heroes. Those BKBs really getting abused. Speed's got his coming out on the courier, while DNM gets to farm on his own side of the map. And Dreamers, sadly, are unable to find the Nature's Prophet farming by himself, doing his own thing. They're always having to approach up to the full 5RAT lineup, mainly to let Adrian farm. And he is getting some headway here with the Shadow Fiend, falling a little bit behind the other cores, but he's going for Manta style. He's greeding out for his build just a bit here. This is not your immediate BKB allowing you to fight for Adrian. This is where he wants that casual Dispel versus the Overgrowth. Then maybe he looks for the BKB down the line, but it is certainly a risk.
And on the other side, DNM's BKB was just completed, so Dreamers, where exactly are they going here? They smoked up with 4, but just kind of did a little bit of a loop before falling back, not really running into the target that they were hoping for, and well, Jamari is being tracked by a missile here, but by the time it hits, I don't think they can follow it up. They're going to try, though. There's the lasso. The hook is not really useful. It hits Jamari instead of the Bat Rider, but the Global Silence does mean 5RAT can't immediately pounce on that. Oh, boy. Pounce on that play as Drakeel baited into the Ravage. It technically hits onto one in the pit there, but they didn't actually see it, and it's not actually going to matter. Pamplona gets taken down. Drakeel's in trouble, rooted up, taken out, and back-to-back instances ET where that Ravage is basically wasted.
Yeah, Ravage is nothing. Now they're looking for Roche. They're going to get it started, and then DNM's going to TP in. I mean, this is 5RAT really feeling their timings here. This is not good. Got an H you're going to have to contest with. You don't have Ravage for the revenge play. You need a Blink Dagger on your Tide before you can really do anything. DNM's getting closer to that level 20 talent because he's got the Midas accelerating him. And this game is going to get really scary really quickly. And Jamar still has his BKB. They just didn't feel like they could have fought. Now, well, does he get it forced out of him? Well, there you go. So, there's your 9-second gun too.
Guess he gets to live, but that's a big resource to have to commit, and... oh, they weren't probably going to take any sort of fight without their Ravage backup anyway, so... in terms of ruining any timings, that's kind of negligible, but... now Dreamers have zero aggression that they can really put together here. 5-5-5 even. Just used hookshot to get away from a gank, so... they are entirely defensive with the way they're using their items and their abilities right now.
And the map is getting smaller. No tier 2s taken just yet, but that's their next objective is DNM. Well, looking for Pamplona, and Pamplona, well, you tried, but just gets scouted out, gets killed. Not much you can do if you're the silencer there.
And that's just the strength that DNM has right now. TP anywhere, get the root down, has the damage. Probably can't do that to anyone other than the two supports, but if he's got vision on those supports, I mean, that kill's basically free. Now TP's bot, gonna look to push the tier 2 tower, and this is where 5RAT are really gonna start getting an ironclad grip on this game, right? They've still got Aegis for 3.5, so they're gonna take the map. They're really gonna try and just force streamers into a smaller and smaller position.
Now the outpost's gonna fall. Now mid is gonna get under siege next. And sure, Ravage is gonna be back up. Dracula's got the workings of a Heaven's Halberd as well, so he's gonna start to be able to slow up DNM at the very least. But look over at Adrian and you wonder how much time are we gonna need here. And while nothing's going on the map, well, the supports are gonna get picked off. It's kind of a natural thing to happen. There's no plays coming in from your Ember or your Tide Hunter. Your Shadow Fiend's certainly not gonna help you out there. So the supports are just out on the map doing their own thing because that's about all they can do.
Jamari is able to jump his way out of a gank there, and that is good news for him. Bad news though for Drakeel. The recipe for his halberd actually gets sniped out. It was coming on the courier, and now he's got to get away. Multiple TPs to the outpost, but they're not looking for him. They want Adrian. Can they catch up to him though? Not just yet. The Ravage has to be used defensively, and they're actually going to turn. There's going to be the Requiem. There's going to be the Silence. They've dropped down Red 2, but I don't know if they have enough damage to deal with all of 5RAT. So now they're just trying to fall back. Pamplona goes down. Dracula will fall. AB1, though, blinks in, drops the Overgrowth, but his teammates, they weren't really ready for this. DNM had such little health that he couldn't afford to push forward, and he has the Aegis ET, but there's no guarantees that that really gets you onto the heroes you wanted anyway.
Yeah, and really nice reaction from Adrian to just know that, okay, I've got help, I can make this happen, but also DNM having the BKB as soon as he TPs in just knows that something's going to happen here, something that neither Speed or Red 2 were able to react to quite as quickly, so great reactions from him, but still, just buys you time, just gives you some more space, and look top, Adrian, well...
Gonna wait for the TP in as well, so now they've got the Bat Rider to help. Really just perfect setup from them. They find a big kill, and you saw Dreamers, they were kind of sort of trying to make their way over, hoping to defend their teammate, but now that Adrian's down, they've all just got to kind of make it out on foot, and uh-oh, that's a problem. Jamari jumps back to the Remnant, gets rooted up, that forces his BKB, and that's twice now. He's had to use some big BKB charges just to get away safely, and while he retreated, Pamplona got caught and finished off.
Yep, just dying to the vision, and the NM's level 20, so not just the supports, not just even the Tide Hunter, but Ember with BKB, Jamar has to be so careful. As soon as he shows in the fight, that's all that DNM's going to be looking for. Finishes off a full Silver Edge as well, so all he's going to do is go into the fight, break up Drakeel, then immediately just start whacking on him. I mean, what are we looking forward to here, Dreamers? Waiting for the BKB, I guess, to be done on their Shadow Fiend, but this is not like the previous game. There's no Daedalus on top of his BKB that they get to look forward to. Adrian has a very expensive quick buy with items that he has not even begun.
Hmm. Items that he has not begun, but does still realistically need to be able to stand up in these fights unless his teammates really set the table for him perfectly. But I don't know. How are you really going to be able to do that? You've got Global, you've got Ravage. Those are great, but the BKBs have been very well timed and very well sort of spaced out from the 5-rat cores. So, gonna be tough for that to happen. Drakeel, though, does finally get that Heaven's Halberd online, so at least got a little bit more lockdown. That's not your ult to work with, and I guess we'll see if we can actually have him get that halberd onto the right target at the right time. As Nick, okay, standing in a bit of a weird spot, but so weird that Dreamers very rightly assume that that might have been a bait, but a bait for what, right? AB1 could have blinked and overgrowthed in, and then... Well, actually, now that I think about it, they've got bots and they've got Nature's Prophet, so that could have been 4 heroes in there pretty instantly, but this time, well, Dreamers decide he's bluffing. He doesn't have any backup, and it wasn't really a bluff after all. AB1 blinks in, there's going to be your overgrowth. DNM comes in for the root. Drakeel's in some trouble, doesn't want to Ravage for this. So that means he is going to get stuck on the high ground and kill it off.
Yeah, just gets tricked around. That's a gem dropped as well. Okay, picks it back up. But unfortunately for Dreamers, they get the kill onto Nick, but it's just too big. And now Jamari, oh, it's happening. The thing. Well,
that's the problem. Double kill there for DNM. Is there a buyback? No, there is no buyback. So, well, maybe 5-rat have a brief window to push through bot, but speed's the only one here. So, uh-oh. DNM finds another target, jumps in. There's the root. There's the leash from the sprout. The break even applied, and DNM is just out of control here. 9-1 and 9 on his Nature's Prophet, able to kill off basically anyone on the map as long as they don't see him coming. And well, with TP and invisibility, ET, how can anyone see him coming?
yeah, and the only hope is for Adrian to somehow out-carry him. And something that Shadow Fiend surely can do, but you need Scouty, you need BKB, you need Satanic, you need Daedalus, you need all of these items that just aren't there. While DNM's working on his Satanic, so he will not care about any man fights. He will win every single fight he goes into. And this is all downtime for 5-rat while they wait for this next Roche. The kills have really only just started. We haven't seen Dreamers get a kill, aside from Nick, in what feels like the past 10 minutes. It's just completely halted. The game plan's stopped.
Mm-hmm. It's all just become focused in on trying to get Adrian farm to the expense of, or detriment of, everyone else. So, well, if they buy enough time, if Adrian does get big, then we can circle back on that conversation. But you get the feeling that what he's picking up right now isn't enough. Drakeel, that smoke play does not really go anywhere. Immediately turns it around. Tries to get back into the base. Oh, that's a problem. Yeah, it was not as safe as he thought it was. Tries to step into the stun, but DNM is right on top of him. But not able to fully finish things off there. So Drakeel does walk away. That was Wrath of Nature deployed. So that's on a little bit of a cooldown, and Dreamers feel like that's enough. They're going to try and go for the 5-man smoke. They've still got Ravage. They've still got Requiem. They've still got Global Silence. But what they don't have, ET, is an actual target. No hero in their sights. No Roche to push into. This is really not going to accomplish too much.
Yeah, sadly, they would love DNM. DNM is the target. He just used BKB. We know he doesn't have it. But looks like they might hit onto Nick. And yeah, they'll get him. Yeah, it's better than nothing, but now they just have to place as much vision around this pit, give themselves as much of an advantage as they can into this next Roche respawn, and then we're kind of hoping for the best. And Nick says, okay, I'm not picked. I'm coming. I'm not giving you anything right now. And 5-rat have to check the Roche. They have to literally face check it. There's no real easy way for them to get vision over there with DNM on the other side, but they're looking for picks. They're looking for something into the pit to make this Roshan even more free. Even though Dreamers are getting set up, 555, he's got the ward. He's trying to break smokes. Not letting anybody past him. And here we go. The breaks.
Yep. Speed. Does get spotted initially, but he's able to blink back. But now both sides are aware, not only of where they are, but the fact that both sides now know where the other is. So Dreamers decide, let's not take a fight here. They all TP back to base, and how quickly do 5RAT realize this? Because once they actually confirm no one's here, they're straight into Roche.
Yeah, the 5-man TP back. It actually couldn't have been a worse timing, because now they're running, but running won't do it. They're not going to get here in time. They need to, like, force staff 555 into the hook shot, and with the flares showing the Roche dying, I mean, they just know. What an unfortunate circumstance. That's very unlucky for Dreamers.
They thought that they were avoiding a potential trap, and in fairness to them, they were, but that means that they give up the objective as DNM. He was waiting. Shadow Fiend won't quite step into it. DNM now reveals himself, but now is a little bit of an awkward time. But he does have his BKB. Able to pop that, just reset everything. Drakeel has to cut himself out of the Sprout. But he will get away, and that's a BKB used.
Yeah, still not the best play, though, and look mid. Nick's gonna be on dieback, so 5RAT getting a little bit sloppy.
Ooh.
And Hook.
Okay, Hook into Requiem. Disarms there as well. And the Ravage, does it hit Red 2? No, he's able to blink himself out, but they do see that they hit AB1 on the back line, so they're going to try to get onto him. Defensive Overgrowth has to be popped. Can he somehow get away? He does blink out for now, and Jamari does not want to jump to that Remnant. That would have been a little too far to go with no vision on the high ground.
Yeah, and some picks, some freebies that 5RAT are giving their opponents here. Of course, when DNM doesn't have BKB, all he does is go back to farming. Not like the game plan changes too much, but he's also not farming as fast as he could. He's still going for these kills. He's still trying to be out onto the map. But he does need to be careful. He can get punished pretty easily. He can give away this game. And we are getting to that point where finally Adrian has the items. He's got his BKB, he's got his Manta, he's got his Pike. Now he gets to the actual damage item. And then suddenly you think, okay, well, all right, where's your opportunity? You got a few Aegises underneath your belt. You're clearing out those tier 2s. There's still tier 2 standing, though. And do Dreamers just out-team fight you? Is that how Dreamers get back into this game? 5RAT certainly don't want to let that happen, but they haven't gotten any aggressive plays going in the longest time. They've been cutting off their opponents, dewarding, making sure they control areas of the map, but it's been a while since we've seen any blink lassos, any blink overgrowths. It's all been very reactive. Like, Pamplona might go down here, but they need more. Cedric Keel, but
This is not a quick kill by any means. I think they still get it. Another Sprout comes through. 4-staff not in time, so they do find that pick. But now they need to do something with it. They've got 2 heroes down on the opposing side. Could look to simply push through mid and get some damage onto that high ground, because neither of those dead heroes have buyback. They're both short on gold, so this is a real opening. How much damage can they do? DNM's going to lead the charge. If you're Dreamers, well, I suppose you could pop a glyph here. It would be refreshed if they lose the tier 3. But Red 2 is going to push in, and that's a lasso onto an illusion. Swing and a miss, but that's a play ET that really can't be punished even. He just walks away.
yeah, but they lose their wards. Now they're in a man fight. DNM pops Satanic. No, he doesn't have Satanic. He doesn't have Nature's Wrath. Still full HP, but they also know that there's no lasso, but they decide it is time to back up. Very aware that there's that tier 2 top, so even if they have a successful team fight, they can't megas their opponents, so they deem it not worthy.
Don't want to take that big of a risk, even with the Aegis in hand, but that does buy time for all of Dreamers to respawn. All of their abilities are back up. And they're pushing their way out here. There is a smoke on Pamplona. They're not going to use it just yet. Trying to clear through some creep camps first, and well, ET for Adrian's build here is a little bit interesting. We saw the first ulti orb. I was thinking maybe, you know, the Scotty play, but he's actually leaning now towards a Lincoln's. He's already got the recipe for it, so on the one hand, you know, maybe things like lasso, missile going to be a little bit less effective, but it does further delay his actual ramping up of damage.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, can we win this game if we just survive? And of course, he's got the Mask of Madness still, so he will be able to disassemble that into something, but he has 4 defensive items on Shadow Fiend. Now we just got to see. That's all he's going to do. He's just going to look to sit there and A-click and be annoying. Him and DNM in a little bit of a right-click battle now. As Drakeel doesn't have Halberd for another 5 seconds, but feels like it is losing, and here we go.
Okay, Global comes out, Ravage deployed, Adrian's still alive, pops the Manta, turns around, getting the damage in onto speed, they'll take him down first. They're looking for DNM here as well. They've got him disarmed, so he can't turn around and fight, but Jamari wants to get in onto the Bat Rider. They're not going to be able to do that, but the Aegis just timed out, so Nature's Prophet, fair game, straight in onto him. DNM will fall. Nick attempted to use the Ogre Seal Totem to get up the ramp, but didn't actually make it. He should die here in really just another second or two. Drakeel will track him down. He gets the kill, and ET Dreamers, they timed that one up perfectly, and then Jamari thought for a moment he was just being greedy trying to push for the Bat, but it actually kind of comes back around. The Bat had to not just fall back, but straight up leave the fight. So he's not available to defend when the Aegis expires on his teammate.
Yeah, and only DNM reacted there to the Ravage. He didn't, or he was the only one to get his BKB off. Yet again, neither of his teammates are able to follow up, so the Ravage ends up buying enough time for a Shadow Fiend who really only has 600 or 700 HP at the end of that fight, but all aggression on him ceases. He just gets to sit there, A-click, and well, the Lincoln Sphere definitely gets punished for a second there because they were just so ready with the Sprout and the jump, but it ends up not mattering. And the defensive plays are starting to work. Aegis timing out is just kind of the cherry on top where they get a free kill onto the NP. Just rough stuff. Everything just comes a little bit too late from 5RAT, and you're starting to really hemorrhage a little bit of gold here. Your towers are getting cleaned up. Your glyph was already used. Speed's looking like you want some revenge here bottom, but doesn't have his Nature's Prophet for another 14 seconds. You wonder if Dreamers have finally broken something open.
Starting to feel pretty good. They're getting more farms, some items, took a tower or two. Jamari just finished off a Lincoln Sphere of his own, so well, I don't know. It's kind of iffy. You're still looking at Adrian, and as you said, he's got 4 defensive items. Normally, you'd think that's a little crazy, but when you start bunching up those defensive items, when Jamari also has a Lincoln Sphere, then, well, who do you target, right? Who do you actually try and make your play onto? And really, the only thing that would make that even better is if Drakeel somehow managed, like, a Lotus or something in this build, then it would just be a nearly impossible minefield for 5RAT to try and make their way through. But we're looking okay for now, though. Adrian, got to be careful. He's able to Manta dodge his way through that. 555 hooked onto a creep. Didn't hit Red 2 himself, but this fight could get complicated. They do have Ravage back up. Who just BKB'd? Red 2 did. For I'm not entirely sure just yet, but there's going to be your overgrowth that forces out the global silence. Adrian does not want to Requiem because all the BKBs are active, so he's going to try to hold it, but he's losing a lot of health. He lost one of his teammates. 555 will fall, but the Requiem comes in. Nick and Speed both finished off. And Dreamers hold the line. Jamari is going to get greedy, though. He's trying to push. He got the root onto Red 2. They know his BKB's been used, so he doesn't have a way out. Drakeel blinks in, knocks him back with the Havoc Hammer. Very rarely do we see that factor into a fight, but prevents the Bat Rider from getting away. And ET, it's now entirely possible for Dreamers to do this. That is 2 botched fights in a row from 5RATs. Still sitting on 15K's net worth, but that was nearly double that a moment ago. Is what the hell, Pamplona? Okay, he's able to live.
So close, actually. Adrian had the Ag Shard Fear Necromastery flying, so that could have just been the Nature's Prophet getting picked off there. But also take a peek at Roche. 5 seconds on that next timer. And most importantly, during all of that, Drakeel was so low, was so pushed back, had to wait so long, he didn't even Ravage. He still got it.
Adrian.
He's still ready.
No, go back. Adrian. Oh, that's so unfortunate. He stepped in and then stepped back out right as it was respawning.
They still might check it.
At least, send a flare, something. Anybody? Bueller? They're just walking past it. They have a DD on Adrian as well. Someone please just check the pit. I'm begging you. Oof. Well, they'll miss on that opportunity, ET, but with the way that they're... Oh my god, Speed, no. With the way they were marching down mid, I was going to say they have an opportunity to do some damage, and now with Speed gone... He has a buyback ET, but by the time he even buys back, they're going to lose a full lane of racks. That DD rune is coming in handy. They can't swing for more, though. Unless they want a tier 4s, there's still tier 2 towers standing, both bot and top, but... Well, they didn't check Roche now, or before, they will check it now. They better check it now. There we go. Now they're going to get themselves in here, and if you're 5RAT, you've got to try, right? Red 2's pushing in. He does get the lasso, but there's going to be the global silence. DNM gets disarmed. There's a buyback from Speed. He's going to try to get involved, but look at Jamari trying to make sure that the overgrowth doesn't factor into this fight at all, keeping AB1 on the very far edge of that fight. They do take him down. In the meantime, Adrian's going back into the pit. That feels a little bit risky. Pamplona gets taken down, but he buys back. Speed, though, trying to push his way in. They did get a bash. They get their Hex now as well. Adrian is falling. Adrian goes down. The lasso is going to actually catch out the Ember Spirit as well, and... Well, Dreamers, they weren't ready for the reinitiation. They thought that they had control of the field, but they weren't anticipating, I guess, the buyback from Speed, the refresher being finished off on the Bat Rider, and... Can they do this with the heroes that they have left? They're giving it a go, ET, but it's not going to be easy. Oh, there we go. DNM comes in, and now they'll take it.
Yeah. Now you get the Ags, you get BKB, we'll see. And okay, AB1 decides to steal it out, but now you check Dreamers and you say, buyback? Ember, that's it. This might just be the end of the game here. They will have to wait and see if hitting tier 4s is going to be enough, because they can't get Megas. They have to go back top for the tier 2 to get that cleanup going. But in the meantime, you know, kind of unfortunate, but this is just going to be a lot of building damage is just going to be done. Dreamers can't do really anything to contest it. They're trying to push out the waves. Jamari's trying to get the split going in towards top, but in the meantime, these first few lanes are going to go down. Fortunately, though, with that tier 2 standing, and with the timers only being, you know, 15, 20 seconds away, it looks like they're not even going to attempt to hit the tier 4s. So time has been bought.
Probably the smarter move if you're 5RAT. If you go in just as everyone's respawning with all their ults available, could get wiped in an awkward position. Jamari, speaking of awkward positions, was, for a moment, in some danger. DNM was trying to catch him, but the Ember jumps back. His teammates respawn. And ET, Dreamers are going to have at least one more shot at this, but, well, now they need to be aware. Last time they got sort of caught by surprise by things like the buyback, things like the refresher orb, but now they're very much aware they exist, and you've got to plan accordingly.
Yeah, and in the meantime, 5RAT, now with the Ags on the treants, they're kind of being annoying. They're taking up all of this area. You know, Red 2's got to be a little careful not to cut his own teammates' trees with his Firefly while he's farming.
Speed has entirely shifted into damage dealing mode here. He's got the Basher, he's got the Daedalus, so pop your BKB, pop your Unleash, just jump in there and just punch the hell out of someone. Doesn't even really matter who. As long as he's hitting, he's going to be doing a lot of damage, so 5RAT got to be feeling pretty confident in themselves. They are 1 or 2 steps away from closing this out, but they're not over the finish line just yet, and well, they need another solid sort of round of team fighting to get through the last of Dreamers' defenses, but do they go in now? 2.5 minutes on the Aegis? They could afford to wait at least a little while, but I would assume they'd want to try and take that fight while they still have the 2 lives available to them.
Yeah, they're still waiting for their opportunity. They're being very passive, but can't really harp on them too much here. They are just staying on the high ground. Dreamers aren't moving anywhere. The gold lead is just going to continue to grow. If they ever find the Ember Spirit, that's going to be their big moment where they kind of break open this game. But in the meantime, we're just farming, waiting. 2 minutes on this Aegis as well, so it's not like they can't push in. Also, another pretty big problem on the horizon here for Dreamers is the level 20 talent for DNM. The other side, the rarer side that you don't always see, but 100% miss chance in those sprouts. Without an MKB, Adrian will be damageless. He will have to fight around it. He'll have to get out. You already don't want to be in the sprout, but now if you're trapped in the sprout, you'll just be helpless. You'll be unable to do anything.
Yeah, it's one thing to not be able to escape the sprout. It's another to not even be able to try and fight your way through it. So it's a little ways away still, right? He's level 28, and the requirements for levels at that point are staggering, but progress is still being made, and the longer Dreamers sort of draw this out, the closer they will get to that mark. At the same time, though, taking a look at the levels on the other side, I mean, Adrian is sitting at level 26, so he does have the Shadow Rays talent. Jamari has the Sleight of Fist charges, so you know, they're getting stronger themselves. They just picked up a Hex on Jamari as well, and Ultrakeel, 23 in about a quarter, so we're not quite closing in on his 25 talent, but could factor in here as well if this game goes on long enough.
Yeah, and waiting right now, still, 5RAT, unlikely to push in. Just biding their time. Almost wish that they start giving some of the farm that DNM is just getting just to get at this point on some of these supports. Definitely a lot of room to grow on both AB1 and Lil Nick, but they're getting there. Right now, buyback is probably what trumps everything else, but in the meantime, Aegis expires. Maybe a momentary kind of spike here for Dreamers. They might be able to find something here. But DNM comes back, sees Drakeel, just farming, just doing his thing. But they could look for a play onto DNM. They know that the Aegis is gone, but that's where 5RAT also group up, knowing that it probably is good for DNM to be with us for just a second here. But as soon as Dreamers don't look like they're going to leave their base, guess what? They're not leaving their base.
Yep. And then DNM just TPs away, so well, they're just trying to sort of play this one out. They don't want to do anything really stupid on the 5RAT side, so everything starts to slow down. Adrian, full butterfly for him now, so okay. No sort of imminent MKB purchase, although you're looking at heroes in the Prophet and the Marcy who could both realistically afford to pick one up. We'll see how long that butterfly gets to be effective for, but at least for now, Shadow Fiend has finally something that directly gives him damage output.
Yeah, and it's something that doesn't help him too much in the man fight. It's not like he can just heal up immediately. It's where he would have loved to find a Paladin sword, but it just doesn't exist for him, which is very unfortunate. But paired with the Elven Tunic, it is a problem that everybody who is a right-clicker on 5RAT needs to solve. It is too much evasion. It's why DNM himself decided to go for a butterfly, because it's just annoying, and we're getting slotted here. It's where there might not be room for MKB in a lot of these builds, but it's also where there is so much luxury and so much farm now getting absorbed from the map that anybody can turn the draft, anybody can turn their builds around really at this point. There's just creeps on the ground, especially if you're 5RAT. They get to do whatever they want. Like if he sees this, he could honestly just sell the butterfly and then buy an MKB if he needed to on the natures.
He just has stupid amounts of money here. Honestly, there's still some stuff he could pick up. Could grab his shard, could get maybe at this point even just a moon shard. I don't know, but wants to save for buyback plus something, but other than consumable items, he's really slotted out.
Yeah, Boots of Travel 2 finished up on Red 2 as well, so they can make the bomb. They can really invade deep into the Radiant base without Dreamers really knowing until it's too late. But finally, another smoke up here from 5RAT. Smoke probably should lead into bottom so they can get a little bit of high ground vision before going for any dive, but trying to get any hero on this mid wave, and it is just not happening in our Red 2. Here we go. Nothing.
Wraith Pact was deployed, but We really are bored if we're counting that as a major development here, ET. But speaking of developments, that's a push in. They got the Hex, they got the Ravage. Red 2's just straight dead. Nick, a little less consequential, but he gets picked off as well. And oh boy, 5RAT. Little bit funky there. Red 2 just thought he didn't need it, thought he could get away with it just walking out, and well, he was wrong. And Adrian, you pick up that shard, right? The fear comes in, you just kind of aren't expecting it off of a simple right click, and it sets him up.
Yeah, hard punish. And 5RAT, well, heroes respawning. Dreamers would love to get some of these tier 2s, but the creep waves are so far pushed in because the Nature's Prophet is just pushing every single lane. Well, they don't really have anything to do. You know, it kind of feels like they should just go down mid at this point. They probably get more of a response out of 5RAT. But Roche is also on the table here. And let's see, minute 40. So, okay. Middling. It's Roshan timer as everybody else decides to farm. But finally, creep wave top. Looks like off these 2 picks that the Dreamers got in the Ravage, we're just going to see a tier 2.
Outpost first. Adrian's now got a Daedalus finished off. And he's just going to go right to work on that objective. DNM, though, does find something. Spots out 555, and that's a gem actually being lost as well. So normally I would say losing the clockwork there is probably not that big of a deal, but with the gem changing hands, it does make things a little bit rougher for them, especially if the Treant Protector is able to get back on this side of the map and start setting up with some of those eyes in the forest. That overgrowth was not really timed out well enough to matter, so Dreamers can reset, and well, now they know overgrowth is unavailable for a bit.
Yeah, but you know, could be worse. Avian's just farming, you know, getting some camps. Hasn't put one in each camp, but look mid. Speed gets hexed by Jamari, and 5RAT are losing some of that confidence. And, you know, for any of you statisticians out there, we're down 10k gold from where 5RAT were. They have hemorrhaged a whole lot of net worth in the past few minutes.
Yeah, they went from hovering around a 40k lead to 33,000. Or I think it might have been slightly higher than 40k at one point. But the fact is, Dreamers are getting a lot of gold here, and how do they look to use it? Oh, Jamari, okay. Try to get onto DNM. Now he's going to look for the Bat Rider, and they did actually root him up, but yeah, now the BKB comes into play. He's going to drop Lasso onto 555, but the Global Silence does come in. Red 2 did not care. Just pops the refresher, pops his BKB again, pops his Lasso again, kills Jamari off, and he's just too strong at this point. By themselves, no one hero from Dreamers can really stand up against him.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because those heroes die in that fashion, this all but forfeits the Roche. You do not want to buyback at this stage. If Dreamers felt like they were going to have to fight without the Ember Spirit and buyback anyway, then maybe they would go for it, but they just don't know. They don't have the confidence with the Clockwork dead. They can't flare the pit, and they're just walking underneath those trees in the forest. Pamplona wants to get the D-ward going, but they're on the run. There was an overgrowth available, but they're still holding it, and oh god.
Oh, X onto Tide. They're not really able to finish him off all that quickly, though, so he is holding. He sent a Tendril out there onto DNM as well, so just keeping him at arm's length, but bit of a close call. Pamplona lives, though. Unbelievably important. He has global up in 8 seconds, so dying there would not have been ideal for him, but how do they want to do this? They still have Jamari dead for about a minute, and they still don't want to use his buyback either. But the enemies are at the gates. DNM trying to start sort of knocking on the door. Akil is making good use of the Tendril, though. Stun up some heroes, get some damage on the creep waves, just try and keep 5RAT out of the base.
Yeah. Just waiting. Still waiting for the Ember to buy back, or to wait out his buyback, so not enough pressure really put on here from 5RAT to care, but they are still getting the waves in. They are still farming. Red 2, oh, okay. Found somebody, but
this is very strange in terms of what he thought he could get away with there, but there's going to be the jump in from Speed. Speed, though, yeah, I don't know if you win that one. So he does back away. 555 in the meantime, unfortunately hooks into the backside of his teammate, but Dreamers all walk away. They all get to reset. That's what matters. They didn't have to pop Ravage there, and Mari's alive.
Something for everybody.
So, still alive here for Dreamers. Still holding on to hope, and ET at this point, well, if the push doesn't come now, if the fight doesn't develop within the 3 minutes left on this timer for Aegis, then we start talking about 60 minutes. Then we start talking about tier 5 items. And I know we talked about that once today and we kind of got baited because the game basically ended before anyone could really pick any up, but not sure that would be the case this time around.
No, and okay. 5RAT chase their opponents back into the base. But yeah, 60-minute items heavily favor Dreamers. If they're actually able to farm it, if they can get out, it's where a big one is talked about it before, but Mirror Shield versus Batrider, Mirror Shield versus Hexes, it could just blow the game wide open if you lose track of that item, especially if you try to push into the base after those items get farmed. It's where everything gets a little bit more chaotic, as well as, you know, Ex Machina, probably the next biggest one after Kill.
Jump in, Ravage onto multiple heroes, 555 hooking in as well. Global Silence can be deployed. Red 2 in some trouble, lost a lot of health, but he was able to get the BKB off, so he will fall back, but Jamari kept the chase going. Able to get onto Nick. Nick, though, immediately buys back, TPing onto the outpost while DNM pushes in, but the Fear is going to push him back. The disarm's onto him as well, but Speed saw his moment, wasn't able to get in, though, for the kill, so his moment has passed, but DNM resets, gets in, looking for the damage. Drakeel dropped low, will be taken down. Now they get the lasso onto the Shadow Feed, pulling him away from his teammates. Adrian will fall, but look at the buybacks coming out. They're all buying back here, but Jamari can't go down. He will fall, though, and Drakeel, instead of waiting to regroup with his team, tried to push in, hoping to save the Ember Spirit's life. Instead, he's about to die back.
Uh-oh, and this is feeling like it could be it.
Oh. More buybacks coming in. Jamari back, Pamplona in. So this is all the firepower that they have at their disposal here. 2 minutes without the Tide, but they were able to get through the first life there on the Nature's Prophet. Now they've got the Hex. They need more damage, though, but look at the Force Staffs pushing him back. Requiem, though, will still take Nick out of the fight, but Speed trying to go in. Can he get Adrian dead? No, he cannot, but DNM wants something, and he's got everyone. Actually, everyone. That's it. It's over.
Nope, DNM's done it. The Ags, the root, it comes through, the damage. Dreamers are shell-shocked. They can't believe that after this long, arduous game, it's over. Their run as well, 5RAT have knocked Dreamers out of the tournament.
Oh, man. All of it ends there in the blink of an eye with just that last little bit of damage, and yeah, the GGs will be called, and Dreamers, they were close, ET. I mean, I know that sounds weird to say, because when we were talking about a potential comeback, they were still down like 33k, but the momentum was starting to shift, you know? You were starting to believe. Get your Matrix quotes in there all you want, but it wasn't enough. All they had to do was provide a single mistake for 5RAT to take advantage of, and all that momentum goes away.
Yeah, it's just an immediate collapse. It's too quick. And with the buybacks, the mismanagement there, it's where there's probably too many people talking at the end, just too many voices, and they just lose track of what really matters in that game. And for a while there, Adrian especially was able to do the damage and do the deeps, and there were some pretty big failures on 5RAT, but it's not enough. It doesn't matter. You needed a perfect 2-0 here. Even if you got the 2-0 from Dreamers, all of these games are so difficult for them. I don't know. Coming into Phase 3, it probably would have felt like an uphill battle just from the start. And they would have had to probably go up against Shopify. So, I don't know. Maybe see this as a blessing for Dreamers. But 5RAT's end the run now.
So, 5RAT able to get just that last little bit in here in a game that realistically did not matter for them, right? Their record now stands at 9-5, but they were already locked into the 2 seed, so it was whatever for them in terms of the stakes, but they certainly came into this game with a level of, I would say, cohesiveness, ET, determination, discipline, whatever phrase you want to throw out there, to close out in style. And we said something similar for Thunder Awaken, right? After they won their first game, they had the #1 seed locked up. They still came out in game 2, and put together what should be a momentum building victory.
Yeah. And now for 5RAT, only NA team to make it out of phase 2. They're looking ahead. They're looking happy. Some weird things happening in their kind of last few series, but we'll have to see if 5RAT can maybe tighten things up a little bit. Their early game felt good in this game too. Their draft felt a lot better as well, but it's still some hiccups along the road. Not the convincing victory that I think they themselves want.
Mm-hmm. So with that, we are now done with the group stage, which means we can give you a little bit of a look at what our final standings do look like here. Those are not the final standings. Hold on just a second. There you go. Little date there. This is what we got. Thunder Awaken finish first. 5RATFORCESTAFF in second. Infinity come in third, beating out Ravens through tiebreakers. So Ravens are fourth, and now Alliance Latam are fifth. The true victors of this final best of two, despite the fact that they didn't even play in it. But they do manage to make it through. Hopefully they send something nice in the mail to 5RATs, because they would not be in this position without the Rats' help.
Yeah. And well, got a lot to see from Alliance Latam and see if they can actually improve themselves a little bit. Haven't been feeling great, haven't been looking too good. Some of their games more convincing than others, but definitely going to be kind of hard for them. But I think 5RAT, they're satisfied with their position. They're happy. They get to get a slightly easier time coming into that final phase. And we'll see how much momentum they can actually gain, or if it's just going to all come to a halt once we get into those best of threes.
And we are going to shift into those best of threes with the playoff bracket. And I believe, yes, indeed, we do have the bracket ready for you after everything got finalized there with that last game. So that's going to be rolling up onto your screen right now. Phase 3 bracket right in front of you. We've got Beast Coast versus Ravens. Nouns will play Infinity. Shopify Rebellion will play Alliance Latam. And then Thunder Awaken and 5RATFORCESTAFF will get an immediate rematch in that first round. So the matchups look pretty good here. As a reminder, you can see it on the screen, but we'll remind you anyway, this is a double elimination bracket. So we were talking about how ET teams might want to avoid those directly invited teams. They still probably would have liked to, but even if you lose in that matchup, it's not a death sentence. You've got the lower bracket to try and bounce back.
Yeah, you get that buffer, you get that second chance, even though a lot of these teams are, I think, going to struggle versus those phase 3 seeds. But, you do what you got to do. And if they can get a scrappy victory, best of threes, you get those mind games, you get those slightly different styles of Dota that can come out in that type of situation. And you get to see other seed 3 seeds play. You get to see the other teams first. Maybe you get to pick up a few tricks, see where their head's at, and then play your game, and then win or lose. You just don't want to be the team with the earliest of earliest exits. I think all these teams in the back of their mind, especially coming in from phase 2, just don't want to lose 2 best of threes and then they're kicked out the door. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, want to avoid that if at all possible. Or if it's unavoidable, at least try to put up some sort of fight, right? Get those full 3-game series so you at least have something you can build on and maybe point to as, we weren't quite good enough, but we at least didn't go down just for absolutely nothing. But we shall see what that has in store. Swing it back on over to us. Hello again. But yeah, that is your That is your playoff bracket sorted out there. Said playoffs not going to get underway immediately. We have an off day tomorrow if the schedule makers are correct, and then we will be starting Sunday afternoon with the first couple of matches from that bracket. So for now, ET, we are done here. Final day of the group stage in the books, and as we said last night, it's always just nice when the final day of matches all actually still matter, and right up to the absolute last second of the group stage, it did still matter.
Yeah, heart goes out to Dreamers, especially Jamari. They tried. They really, really did. But, we'll see him next tournament.
Maybe we'll have another chance, but not in this event. So that is going to do it for us. We're going to be hopping on out of here in just another minute or two. So thank you all so much for watching. Hope you join us for playoffs again beginning Sunday afternoon. I know there's this other thing going on, you know, some sort of Super Bowl or whatever, but, you know, you want to watch Dota instead, we will be here. So, again, thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy the start of your weekend, and we'll see you Sunday.